Hello, viewer, and welcome back to Games with Dialogue. This is the return of my RPG Maker series. Taking about a month or two off for the summer. Just some personal things. 2020, man, what are you going to do? Anyways, we are back with episode 96, so let's dive in. Now, as you may recall, before I took that break, the last few episodes were based around trying to fill in the skills in the database. Skills for classes, skills for enemies, skills for weapons. I decided to walk back on using skills for weapons. There are a few where it makes sense here, like lucky shots, but most of them and sweeping shot. Most of them I've decided I don't need to use this option. Just because it's here doesn't mean I need to use it. So I've divided it into basically three major skills. The stuff for classes, the player, the stuff for the enemies specifically, and the stuff that the two of them can share, which doesn't happen often because the MP cost needs to be different and enemies don't use TP cost. So there's very little overlap there. Mostly buffs, I think. And then, while I was on break, I decided to work on fleshing out the dialogue, getting these events to work. Not the common events specifically, but things like, where is it? The pyramid. Things like the pyramid boss here. Getting this whole thing to flow smoothly. And also shoring up the enemies so that their stats all make sense for the levels they come in on. I've also started organizing the list so it's by area, which takes a lot longer than it should just to move everything around, but there you go. I've gotten as far as the battle shrine, so today what I was gonna do is go through the underground, this gauntlet, and get the enemies' stats squared away and flesh out more of their skills. Now that I know what I want the players to be capable of with what skills they have at this point in the game and what gear they're wearing, I know a bit more what I can do with the boss monsters, or with these fights specifically, to test the player without breaking them making it too difficult, basically, without making it too difficult in each fight. I've also added a lot more status effects. I didn't think I was gonna, but I think it makes things a little more interesting if enemies can throw out more than just poison and blind and silence. If they can do, and if the player eventually can do things that affect stats, like lowering defense or buffing up strength, or the attack stat, whatever. Lowering one stat while raising another. Elemental protections, I had to get that in there. So yeah, let's look at our first fight here with this. I need to change this because I don't think it's in the same spot. No, it looks like it just looks like it hasn't updated yet. All right, well, re-highlight it, and hopefully when I come back to it, it will update itself. Anyways, let's get into the actual stats and everything. So, when the players are in this area, I'm trying to keep them lower than level 15. 15 is about where I expect the player to hit at this point. So I have made a list of all the stats and the gear and the weapons that they have access to at this point in the game. So I know what range the player will be hitting the enemy at. Also, what range the enemy's defense should be at, so that the player's not just chunking through them in 2 or 3 hits. For the riffraff, the random encounters, whatever, it's fine. They can be chunked through. 80 hit points here or there. But for this guy, if he's being hit for 80, I want him to last at least 5 rounds. So, what I need to do is look at his defense first and decide whether or not I want the highest damage dealing member of the party and the highest defensive member of the party, what kind of damage they'll be taking. Just for reference, let me go back up here to what you'll be fighting in the forest itself. What I've decided to do with that. So, spiders are probably the toughest of the cannon fodder in here. They've got a defense of 50 and a magic defense of 38, which means your magic users are going to be able to rip them apart a lot better than physical defense. But what was it? The Hornet? Yeah, a 40. The Hornets go down much easier than the spiders. But what I know is that I either want 50 or higher for the Minotaur. Magical defense, I'll probably bump up to 40 on him just because he's a boss. But where did I put you? Where'd you go? Right here. Okay. Yeah, see, defense of 40, that's makes him a little squishy. So I'm going to pump him up to 50, and I'm going to pump this up to 40. So his magic attack should at least be in the 50 range. I know it's not going to matter much, but still, he might have one or two that I give him that should do something to the player. So the attack stat, what am I going to do with you? 40 times 4 minus 100. Well, actually, for the player, their defenses at this point will be 74. So getting something 40 times 4 might be a bit much. It depends. Do I want the Minotaur, or this boss, the Maxitor, to be able to one-shot the light armor wearers? I don't think so. That's cruel and unusual. So if I take the lowest defense, what the light armor wearers are wearing, then say if they get hit by the Tar, if they get hit by this guy, 3 times, they'll run out of hit points. Which means that the heavily armored guys can take a few more hits. Because their hit points are almost double what the spellcasters have, he'll have a lot more work to do to take them out. But 40's not going to cut it. I'm going to bring it up. No, you know what? Hold on 1 second. Let me look at the spider again. 42. Yeah, that's what I figured. So 40's not going to cut it. I need to bring it up to... Well, let me see here. My notes say that times 2 defense for the light armor wearers at this point is 74. So I think 42 might actually be too much. I need to look at their hit points. Let's see here. I don't normally worry about their hit points. It's usually not something I worry about because of the healing spells and the healing items that I want the player to use. But against bosses, they need to be able to survive. Especially here, they need to be able to survive multiple fights. So 771. That's not bad. Again, it's like half of what our warrior, what Gilgamesh is using. But I still want them to survive at least 3 hits from the enemy. So let me go back to him. Okay. He's not a tank. He'll be more like a glass cannon in that regard. I think if I lower his defense by 1, I don't want to go crazy here. And lower his magic defense by 1. He'll take more damage. And then he can dish it out pretty bad. I'm actually going to raise this up. If I'm going to do that, if he's going to be like a glass cannon, I'm going to raise it up. Alright. His agility, I want it to be higher. Lower than the ranger. The ranger's agility at this level is... Okay, so I'll bring it down to 42. Sure. His luck, yeah, it's not that important. Magic, the first level of spells, the lowest level stuff, is cost 50. Let me see here. Go back to skills, flame, cost 10. Okay. Let me find dual hit here. It costs 100 to use. And double strike costs 100 to use. That's not exactly what I wanted. I'm going to drop it down to 50. It still should be expensive to use, but because it's an enemy skill... Actually, no, hold on. Dual hit is the one that's really dangerous. Yes, okay, so I want it to be at 100. Double strike attacks 2 random targets, so I want him to be able to do that multiple times. Alright, alright. So, 250 is not great. He's only going to be able to use those abilities twice, maybe, if I'm lucky. So, I want... When it comes to the enemies, I want them to have a ridiculous amount of MP, so that they hardly ever run out. But, that's... At least at this point in the game. I want to walk that statement back a little. At this point in the game, I want the enemies to be able to spam their abilities. Once the players get through the knowledge shrine and get the ability to drain MP from enemies, then their maximum amount of MP is more important because it's a tactic the players can use to drain the enemies and stop them from being able to use their powerful abilities. So, I think that'll be fine. If he uses double strike 5 times, that's 500 MP. No, sorry, dual hit 5 times, that's 500 MP. But he has to be enraged to do it. You'll notice down here, he has to be in his seeing red phase. So, he won't get there until he's almost dead, which means most of his MP will be used by double strike. So if I figure 5 turns with double strike, that's 250. So I could drop this down to like 800, 850, and just barely squeeze out all his hit points. I mean, all his MP. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I want to give him 1,000 just to give him some wiggle room. I think he's just going to be a very straightforward fight. He's going to hit you, you're going to hit him. When he gets down to seeing red, you can blind him. You can silence him before he gets to seeing red so that he can't do it. There's some options to deal with him if you know it's coming. Him being the first boss also means that if you lose, you just go right back to the save point. Come in here and deal with him. Once you know what's coming. If you came into this fight not knowing that he went seeing red and he beat you the first time, it's not that big a deal to come back to him. I'm a little more okay with cheap shots when it's the first guy. So, I think that's fine. He'll counterattack. I want to drop this down. That's a little too much. We'll do 1%. He'll counterattack. Now, keep in mind that he'll be counterattacking... Actually, I don't know if I can make that statement. I don't know if counterattack works just on physical attacks or when he gets hit by magic too. If it's just physical attacks, then the highest hit point, highest damage people are getting smacked by him. That's no big deal to me. But if he's hitting everybody, then it's a danger for the spellcasters to even do what they need to do. Alright, well, I'll drop it down to 1%. What else can I give him? A debuff rate? I do not want him debuffing you, the player. State rate? I don't want him inflicting any states. State resist. I think... Yeah, well, he's definitely not going to be resisting rage. I think I want to resist enamored. Not that it matters. I don't think... I'm not giving the player any enamored abilities at this point in the game. But I don't know. Maybe somebody will find a trick way to inflict that on him. Paralyze, curse, reflect, fear. I wanna block off fear as well. Again, probably no risk of that happening. The player shouldn't have access to any fear abilities, but you never know. Let's see. Parameter, max hit points, hit rate. I don't care about any of that, or I don't want to give him any of that. Target rate, guard effect, recovery, MP cost. I could drop the MP cost if I wanted to, but that's not going to happen. All right. Multiple attacks was the other thing I was going to give him. Let's see here. No, I don't think I want to do this one. Increase the number of times actions can be taken. No, that's right. That's right. That's the chimera that's to come. Right. Just because he has 2 axes doesn't mean he's going to be attacking you twice. Okay. So that's good. Experience and gold. For the gauntlet, specifically, I don't know if I want to give the players any XP or gold. I think if they get to this point and they're not level 15 yet, it will be harder for them because I'm balancing around them being at 15. So giving them XP, helping them get to 15. But if they're already at 15, I don't see it as a problem for them to get more levels and make the fights easier. I just don't want them to grind to this point, which is why the ancient forest leading up to this point, the XP is kind of sparse. So yeah, I'll give them some good XP at this point. Gold, on the other hand, gold they're going to need a lot of. I envision, or at least hope, that the player will be drinking healing potions like crazy through these few fights in this gauntlet, which means they're going to need to restock before they move on in the game. So I'll give it to them. Sure. They aren't going to be able to leave here, so sure. Yeah, once they engage with this fight, this door down here closes up behind them. So, sure. All right, moving on.